every weekend it's not one rave, it's like 5 raves.
With good promoters and with a good crowd, we have been able to create something really magical here.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's grown so much.
There's a huge scene, it's just getting bigger.
It's crazy. When I came there was like, I don't know, there were not so many raves, and there were like, I guess there were like one rave like every other weekend, like one rave, and then two weeks to the next rave, kind of. It's like, it wasn't too many raves, but they were really good, and it was like, you could see like, you had to make a dedication to be there. There was not so many, like, not too many people knew about it. Then I went away to Ibiza just over the summer and working, and when I came back, it felt like it was like, I felt like I knew like everyone who went to the raves, and when I came back, I knew no one, and it felt like it was like twice as many people just going to raves, and there were twice as many raves. I was like, what the fuck happened?
A bunch of years ago, like when we started going to raves, it was like,
Yeah, there was like one rave a month or something.
Yeah,
and we were like, wow, this week there's a rave.
yeah,
And now there's like 2 raves to choose from every night, almost.
yeah.
So that's really cool.
And like before, it used to be like a lot of like older like techno, like men at the raves. Like,
Yeah.
and it was some people like that have really looked to get away from all the other parties, and like we're sort of drawn by the music to the raves. But I think now the rave scene has grown so much, so like people come there maybe not as much because of the music, but more because of the whole vibe and the entire, like, I don't know, the values associated
Yeah,
with
and
like raving, and like the freeness.
Years ago, you wouldn't go to techno party if you weren't like really into techno.
And I think people, like, when they come to the raves, they don't come there because of the music, but once they hang out there and they start spending time there and like get into the entire scene and like the culture of it, they start enjoying the music as well. And I think that's how techno sort of and
Has grown.
like underground music is growing.
If you come here during winter, I highly recommend right now Moon Motel, which is a fantastic place. It's quite small and it's quite hard to get on the guest list. Something that's really typical Swedish is a guest list system, which is outrageous but really weird. But sometimes you can get in either way. Otherwise, I would highly recommend Laika, which is a free place if you want to just go to a place and be sure you get in and still hear good music. And 5M, Globen. And it's also a really good venue for more underground and more hardcore techno, while 5M is really a techno club. And also you have Slakthuset, which also is pretty hardcore and quite dark. So there's always like 1 till 3 parties. But we do have clubs that is open till 5, and after the club closes there are several underground parties. I think this is more organized actually. It's not a proper rave, it's more like an an underground club under the radar. It's still a really nice club, and the DJs that DJ in that scene, that there are amazingly good. But we are a lot of girls that are just decided to take grounds, and we're taking up a lot of space, and we're not afraid to ask and to be out there and to play. Y plus M, Jessie Granqvist, me, Vicky Sissou, Tove Lindholm. A lot of girls, especially in the underground scene right now.
A lot of people want to book female DJs.
Because they want to fill the crowd.
Yeah, because they will get shit if they don't.
Yeah.
People will get mad at them.
And that's a good thing actually.
Yeah, and it's like in the gaming industry, it's the same. The thing is, since there aren't a whole lot of female role models, women are often sort of afraid to. They have this idea of I'm not good enough. I mean, even if nobody says that. Really, it's just this feeling that no, girls can't play, but as soon as there are more role models, it's just gonna keep happening and become normalized, and that's really important. That it's not a big thing. It is hard. You can't be what you can't see. If there's nobody doing it, then it's really hard to imagine yourself doing it.
Yeah, I guess that's also why we maybe started here.
Yeah.
Because we met a lot of female DJs.
Yeah.
Like Ylva
paved
and
the
Malin
road.
and Jessie,
Yeah,
and they got friends, and I don't know.
It can't happen overnight. It takes a couple of years, but suddenly it's completely normal, and then it's not even a big thing to have an all-female lineup.
But still people are saying, oh, it's just female. But they wouldn't say it if it's just boys who play.
No.
I think like Sweden has always been sort of contemporary and like in the forefront when it comes to like empowering women, I guess.
Yeah.
In like all different parts of society. And so I think that's why like the change started so early here in Sweden compared to other countries.
And
But like now it's
now it's almost as common. I mean, there are still more male DJs, but I think the new DJs that are coming up, they're almost more girls, I would say. And it feels like about maybe 8-9 years ago, clubs started giving more chances to female DJs as well, because they realized it would be a way they could differentiate themselves and do something new.
And also because guests started putting pressure on the parties and on the clubs. Like if you didn't have women in your lineup, people would say something. And they would like
and it's
call
really
out the
like
club.
that now. If somebody posts a lineup and like an all male lineup, then there's gonna be like 50 comments in the event like, what is this sausage party? You couldn't find one single female DJ to book. And that's so cool because there's so much talk about equality, but in the club scene is the only place that I've actually really seen something happen quite fast.
Yeah.
There's still more men being DJs in Sweden, but I think compared to the rest of the world, there's a lot of female DJs here and who's like really, really talented as well, which I think is quite awesome. And since I'm not a female, I cannot say that I know this for sure, but it feels like the females are getting a lot of support as well, which is really nice. But I could be totally wrong on this, because I'm giving them a lot of support, because I think it's awesome that they were like 50-50. But yeah, I think it's really nice, and I feel like the females as well. They have a lot of them have a sense of they know how to play to a crowd, because they seem to be more empathic, sensitive to, you know, they can pick up the atmosphere better than a lot of men does. Because a lot of guys, there's like, I feel like they could be playing for themselves more.
It sometimes feel like promoters, they're like, oh, we need a girl for the lineup, so we need to like check that box. So we book one girl or two.
Yeah.
Just not to be
Called out.
male chauvinists or whatever.
I think more girls need to produce, and we're taking care of that. There are some girls trying to like educate within the different programs that you use and drum machines and getting really dirty and nerdy.
God afton. Stockholmspolisen gjorde i morse razzia mot 500 ungdomar som befann sig på ett så kallat rave-party. 8 ungdomar greps misstänkta för narkotikabrott. Polisen säger att det fanns stora mängder narkotika i lokalen.
Started 1991. Started to play and we did our first party in 91. It's not so many people and we lost a lot of money and I should have told us the story, you know, you should stop here, but nobody could stop. It was techno took over, you know. Yeah, so it's quite fun, you know. So we did a couple of things during the 90s and it ended up in 93 with a rave with almost 3,000 people and everybody was shocked what was going on, you know. We expected maybe 500 or something, you know. So it came 3,000 something and after that it was, the 90s was good in a rave perspective in Sweden, you know, but also maybe, you know, the society was not ready for something like this, you know. Young people taking drugs and fucking out, you know, stand dancing 10 o'clock in the morning, you know. It's not what Sweden was ready for, you know. It ended up in they created a force within the police that was called the Rave Commission, you know, and their only job was to hit down on raves and make busts. So yeah, so everything went to fucking shit, you know.
The aim of the Rave seminar was to educate people about their rights, their laws, what the police can do, what the police cannot do, drug awareness, and yeah, everything that surrounds the rave culture. Is the main point of it is just to educate. And for us, it's very important that everybody knows their rights, the regulations, so that as one scene, we can have more information about how to handle some situation. Aftermath main goal is to push this culture further, especially in Sweden when everything has a closing time and the opening limit, and we just want to push it forward. Kulturgården isn't I wouldn't say that Kulturgården is a club. I would say that it's a cultural space where promoters can host their events and their private and intimate parties. So it's a big difference between clubs like Slakthuset and a place like this. The biggest difference is that they got permits, they got opening hour limitations, so they need to close at around 3 or 5 o'clock. And therefore it turns to a normal club. And this is why you cannot call it an underground club. We don't sell alcohol. It's folk beer for the people, and that's what we have the right to sell. And my opinion, it's way better because then you draw a line between people that are going out to drink alcohol and people that are going out to listen to music and to meet good people and have a good time.
There is a lot of Swedish law, a lot of Swedish rules that limit the rave culture and this kind of parties. And you have to find a compromise between the legal and the illegal. You have to find a loophole. I can say it can be captured on camera. There are some illegal things, loopholes, that we want to keep secret. Otherwise the police will shut down everything. There is probably 10% of the raves that are totally legal. Most of the raves organized in and around Stockholm are risky. You always have a part of risk. People are fighting the loopholes right now. Swedish law is really detailed, and when you're hosting a party, you need really go through everything, trying to find those loopholes.
Just in Sweden, where the clubs close at 3, but if you go abroad, the clubs starting to get good at 3 in the night. So maybe people are just getting used to postpone the hours of partying a little bit more. I don't know.
And I think that's one of the main reasons that the underground rave scene is so big here in Sweden, because we have so many rules that it's against people be able to stay up all night.
Oh yeah, fudge. It's so annoying. My bar, for example, we can't have open till more than 1 o'clock. And it's so many rules to follow. The police is here almost every night, just because we play techno, and unfortunately it's kind of techno and drugs go hand in hand. There's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. Therefore, I think the underground cult has bloomed more. It's not that much loss. Of course, there's loss. See through them.
You have to have a permit if you had a place. You need to have a permit for people to dance. A dance permit. I think that we're the only country in the world that has to have a permit for people to move.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have a dance permit to actually have flashing lights and have a dance floor. But what I've heard, they're gonna take this away, but it's not written in stone yet.
Back in the days in Sweden, we had something called dansbana. It's like a dance track, and it's like a big round area. Yeah, with a fence around where people used to come and dance, like in, I don't know, one Friday night a month or something in the summer, and there would be like a band playing like really, you know, cheesy old time music, and then people would drink and they would dance and they would fuck and they would fight, and then because all the fighting, you started to need a dance permit to organize a dance, and this law is still around in Sweden. And now what it says is basically that if people are going to dance in your venue, then you need this amount of guards and this amount of other types of security. And even if you have like a tiny bar, if you have an area reserved for dancing, then you need a dance permit, and then you need to spend a lot more money on guards and stuff. So they've actually ruled to abolish this law, but it's after, I don't know, it's taking a lot of time, so it hasn't.
It hasn't happened yet.
No.
When I lived in Germany, I wasn't so much on raves, but when I talk to friends in Germany, I can see that in Stockholm it's much more. There's so much raves, and that depends also on the political situation and the police and that stuff. Because in Germany it's much more, it's freer. You don't have to, you can just do a party and like sell alcohol and it's no problem. There will not be police or something. And here it's more like, okay, if you want to do that, you have to like follow the rules, and you have to apply to, I don't know.
They push parties underground.
Yeah. So that's actually the thing. The police and the politics are kind of pushing people in Stockholm to do that. And I mean that's how creativity is growing kind of because of that. It's kind of like being with the rules, but not.
They're actually trying to follow the rules as closely as possible.
It's illegal, but people are still sticking to the rules, and that's why it's organized maybe also, because we have to. Otherwise, when we don't do that, people are getting caught by the police, or like the whole party is blown up by the police.
Being shut down.
So we have to stick by the rules, but it's still just for members, kind of, which makes it kind of underground.
Saturday night. The underground culture is a rising culture everywhere in Europe, and Sweden is such a conservative country and puts so much limitations on everyone. And that is what Aftermath and Kulturgården stands hardly against. We want the city to rise and to truly show itself, and what we stand for, the music we stand for, and the way of life that we want. Because we would like to see people walk home in the morning after a long night of partying.
It's so weird, because if Stockholm wants to be like an international city, you kind of have to adapt to what people are coming for. Like if you're not allowing the culture to progress and be as it wants to be, you're just restricting yourself, and people are not gonna come visit Stockholm. I think that will change a lot of things, because it's gonna work better than most clubs around Stureplan, which are open to like 3 or 5. They will have like, I don't know, 10 cops waiting outside just to handle the drunk people. And then when you see a rave opening 24 hours a day, or with a license to be open to 24 hours a day, and like going until 8 or 10 in the morning with no trouble at all, I think that's gonna change how things work.
There are too many like fucked up rules that stops that, you know. So we have to do it underground, and we're like, you have a rule like a law that is with a closed community. You are allowed to have for your members meetings and whatever, and this is what we are working with, you know. But it's also like they can also say like, oh no, this is not that because you are too open there, and so that therefore we don't use Facebook and stuff like that too. So it's getting more accessible, but also people have to find it themselves, you know. So it's like more mouth to mouth, and what about what is this? People talk about it, of course. They come somewhere, they go to another dimension for a couple of hours, feel something else, you know. Feel with all the people around them, you know. And yeah, it's also the language we speak about love and being together, you know. It's also very important, I think. For me, techno is for everybody, you know. It doesn't matter if you're rich and you're living in the city, or you're living in the suburb and poor, but it has to be accessible for everybody, you know. And that's a big thing I think is important. But if they want to play underground music in like a posh club at daytime for some posh kids, fucking do it, you know. But you also have like we spoke about it in the car earlier, you know, it's like two sides of techno happening a little bit, you know. You have all the one that's coming in with the money and make the big festivals and whatever, and taking over big clubs, and there everything is about money, and I mean the entries and everything is not accessible for everybody, you know, and like Ibiza and whatever. And then you have the underground movement that is going on, and that's you have in Sweden and mostly the former eastern countries, you know. But people in Berlin and France and whatever, they want that back also, you know. And so I think it's a little bit movement happening on the side also, that is going back to the underground, to the what it's about, you know.
I'm interested in how the police will react to this, because we might get another 90s rave commission and crackdown on all parties ever. Because
it feels like if
it keeps growing, I think they will do that. Because
if it gets more open, like the whole scene, then it's, which I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe it's more like, okay, there will be more raves, and then the politicians will come and will kind of, so, like you said, try to shut it down, and then people are struggling and fighting much more against that, and maybe something else is gonna create out of this. I don't know, like a whole different scene, or more creative than before, or I have no idea.
Because some raves are getting super huge, you know. The Tillsammans, Chameleon raves they are attracting thousands of people now, and
but that's also, I mean, that's pretty interesting, because why are so many people interested?
No, it's just going to grow. It's just going to grow. I think techno is taking over the world, you know. It's not about only Stockholm, it's all over the world taking over. People are tired of this this pop techno thing. I think it's now techno is very much about changing, you know, it's about frequencies and stuff like that. It somehow changes people's minds, you know, and
Come here. Come here. It's so awesome. We're quite good at what we're doing, so.